And now we are live. So, Biden. Before the stream started, you asked me about if I think the establishment is trying to set him up for failure or to be withdrawn or something along those lines.
Yep.
Now, what would be your reasoning on that?
Well, I've heard a lot of speculation that, and it's not too hard to see, but that the plan all along was to get Kamala Harris in there, and Joe Biden was essentially just a placeholder until he's turned against and she's propelled into that position and then propped up, even though she's like even probably less popular than he is, because she happened to be
Yeah.
at the same time everything was going down in Afghanistan, which everyone's saying is the worst foreign affairs disaster since Saigon. She was in Vietnam at that time, or somewhere in Southeast Asia. So
Yeah.
coincidence?
Yeah, coincidences like that are often indicative of some fucky shit going on with the elites. But I haven't really been paying too much attention, but I think the media is still playing in Biden's favor. So I'm not sure if they are actually trying to turn on him just yet. Anyway, but you do bring up a good point because they screwed over Tulsi Gabbard just so that they could get Kamala into a better position.
Well, I remember,
and I honestly think that
they had their back and forth during the primary season.
Yeah, and I honestly think that Tulsi Gabbard was the only person who could have honestly won against Trump. No fraud needed there.
I could see that. I could see that because there was even a lot of people on the right who had good things to say about Tulsi Gabbard. So I don't know. It's possible.
Yeah. Also, just want to throw this out there. She's hot as fuck.
Yeah, she
like
is.
If I have to see the president every day during their presidency, which I do because I have to. Well, I don't have to, but I do go online. That pretty much guarantees that I'm going to see the president every day. I'd rather that president be an attractive MILF.
Well, I guess if it's a choice between seeing a demented geriatric old man just wither away and a 40-something-year-old surfer chick, I mean,
she's like in her 30s still, isn't she?
Let's see.
I mean, she was like 38 in 2019, right?
She is 40, so yeah, I guess.
Yeah, she was 38 in 2019, so she just turned 40. Cool.
So I guess she's technically a millennial, I guess.
Yeah, technically, because the oldest millennial is like 45 right now.
Yeah, and the youngest, she was born in 1981, so yeah.
Yeah, the oldest millennials are like 45, and the youngest millennials are like 27 right now, I think.
Yeah, I think I heard a term that they call those those older millennials geriatric millennials.
Oh, man, this mosquito is just flying around my face. Come on, land.
I mean, because the way things are going now, it's. I mean, you would have to think it would be shaping up for Republicans to be swept into office in the midterms. I mean,
yeah, that's usually how it goes, though. There usually is a shift towards the opposite side during midterms. The same thing happened under Trump, actually, didn't it? He had a mostly Republican Senate during when he first got in, and then midterms came around and it shifted over to mostly Democrat, didn't it?
Yeah, that's right. And that happened under Obama too. And he came in office in 2008, and then 2010 the Republicans took the House, and so I know where I live, in the midterms we're going to be electing a senator and a governor. So if there's any silver lining to having Biden in there, if the wind is blowing the other direction, hopefully we can get some better people in office here for sure.
Yeah. I'm so black-pilled on our system. I really do believe that Trump was the last person to actually care. I mean, Gabbard cared too, but obviously the elites don't want her anywhere near politics. They want her far, far away. And even though I do disagree with her on some of her policies, like apparently she was anti-gun. That's not a good thing. That's something I'm very much in favor of, is pro-gun, Second Amendment shit.
Well, I mean, she's pretty much a down the line leftist. I mean, I think she maybe divulges from that a little bit, but I mean, for the most part, she's a leftist. So
she was actually against gay marriage for a while, which is strange. But she's actually like a reasonable leftist, which is incredibly rare.
True. I mean, there was a time, probably not in my lifetime, but sometime before that, where you didn't necessarily have to worry about your rights being taken away if a Democrat won.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe going back to the days of JFK and so forth.
Well, I mean, JFK was probably the last good Democrat who was also in politics, who actually got elected. But the Dems have always been on the wrong side. They've, FDR was a Dem. He forced people into labor camps. Truman was a Dem. He gave us the Social Security Act.
Wait, you mean it was that great progressive hero FDR that interred the Japanese? It wasn't an evil Republican.
Yeah. oh yeah. But if you bring up any bad deeds by the Democrats ever, the Democrats will say, "Oh, there was a shift in the platforms." But the funny thing is that if you ask them to point to any point in time when the shift actually took place, they can't do it. It never happened. In 1865, right after the end of the Civil War, the Democrats were anti-gun. They were pro. They had a form of socialism that they held in an ideal. They were pro-racialized politics, and the Republicans were the exact opposite. They were like, let's get race out of politics. Let's be pro-gun. Let's give everyone gun rights. Let's be capitalists. So really, the parties never switched. It's just that there were a couple of good Democrats who didn't run things like Democrats, and they're remembered as the entirety of the Democrat Party whenever the Democrat Party is criticized.
Yeah, I mean, I would have to agree. I mean, you see people like the Squad and so forth that are kind of getting a little bit more sway in the Democrat Party. I don't know if I've heard rumors that like AOC is going to have her congressional district eliminated because New York is losing a congressional seat. So
that'd be great, actually. She could then get kicked out of the fucking Congress. Zachary Swain says John Kennedy authorized the use of napalm and defoliants in Vietnam. Yeah, what a great Democrat he was. Well, yeah. He also said that Hitler was misunderstood. and he cheated on his wife with Marilyn Monroe.
I
Of course,
believe
who wouldn't?
He
Who
had
wouldn't cheat on their wife with Marilyn Monroe, though? That's
several
a big thing.
several affairs at the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
He also had Addison's disease, isn't that right? I mean, that's pretty well documented now.
But yeah, he by authorizing those defoliants, he actually caused great harm to American citizens because Agent Orange caused like severe problems. It caused apparently cancer and hearing loss and mental defects, all sorts of shit. Agent Orange was authorized by John F. Kennedy. That is a good point. Oh, and it's strange. Everyone thinks of that Bulldog guy, the governor of Alabama during the Civil Rights Movement. They think of him as a Republican, but he was a Democrat.
Bull Connor, yeah.
Yeah, that guy.
Well, he was, and then you had, who was it? George Wallace also was Democrat. So
yeah,
Bull Connor was the commissioner of public safety for the city of Birmingham, Alabama. So I guess he was kind of like a police chief, I guess. But yeah, he was the guy that would
he was like a police commissioner, basically.
Yeah, he was the guy that would release dogs on people and spray people with fire hoses and so forth.
Yeah, and most of the opposition to the Civil Rights Movement did come from Democrats, which most people don't remember. This mosquito is really...
Yeah. I believe it's a greater percentage of Republicans voted in favor of the Civil Rights Act than Democrats.
Yeah, and there never was a time when the platform switched. I've searched, I've personally searched, and there never was a time. They were always pro-socialism. They were always anti-gun. They were always pro-war. They were always pro-big government, except for during the Confederacy, the Civil War, when the Confederacy, which was Democrat, was against big government. That was the only time.
Yeah, that was more states' rights and so forth. Well, and you look at it like you were saying. I mean, which party back then was involved in racial politics, and which party now is involved in racial politics? As a primary weapon, it's always been the Democrat Party.
Yeah. It's just that the Democrats now have multiple weapons that they use because they take on every issue that they can and use it as a wedge issue. They use LGBT as a wedge issue. But then again, Dianne Feinstein shot Harvey Milk. And I'm not saying allegedly, I'm saying that bitch definitely did it.
Well, she was the mayor of San Francisco, right?
Yeah, she was the mayor of San Francisco. She carried around a gun of the exact same caliber that was used to kill Harvey Milk. She was the first person to be on the scene at Harvey Milk's assassination, and she claimed that she was feeling for a pulse inside of the bullet hole.
Oh, God. Yeah, I'm not. I know who Harvey Milk is. I'm not too familiar with his story though.
Yeah, me neither. But I know all this about his assassination. These flies now. The flies. First the mosquitoes, now the flies. Lord of the flies.
Yeah. Dianne Feinstein's the one that wants to take everybody's guns, but it's okay for her to have the gun.
Yeah, it's okay for her to have it. It's okay for her to have guns and, kill a politician who is gay, the first openly gay politician. And she gets a pass because she's a Democrat.
Well, what's the official story with Harvey Milk? What do they say happened?
The official story with Harvey Milk is that he was assassinated, and I'm not sure exactly what the official story is, but I believe it is he was shot on the street, and the assailant got away, and they never caught the guy. But at the same time, Dianne Feinstein was the first person on the scene carrying the same caliber gun as was used to kill him, and she was sticking her finger in the bullet hole and admitted to this. I mean, it just she Clintoned him. She Clintoned Harvey Milk.
Yeah, I suppose it was definitely a lot. It was a lot easier to pull something like that off back then as well.
Yeah.
Well, you know what they're saying now is supposedly the word on the street is Dianne Feinstein is more feeble than Joe Biden. And next month they have the recall election in California. So, and there's a very realistic chance that Larry Elder, a Republican, that Gavin Newsom could be recalled as governor, and Larry Elder could win the recall election, therefore giving California a Republican governor. And if Dianne Feinstein is unable to complete her term in the Senate, her replacement would be appointed by possibly Larry Elder, who would be governor, who would then appoint a Republican.
Larry Elder apparently has been called a white supremacist despite being black. And not even like mixed race black, but like totally black.
Yeah, so apparently the LA Times ran a piece that said Larry Elder is the black face of white supremacy.
Just wait until they find out about Daryl Davis. You know who that is?
Who's that?
Daryl Davis is the only black man to be a card-carrying member of the KKK. He was close friends with the Imperial Wizard of the United States back in like the 90s.
So he's like a real life Clayton Bigsby.
Not exactly, no. He originally he was like he's done talks. You can go find them on YouTube. But he tried to get a talk with the Imperial Dragon or Wizard or whatever it is of the KKK, which is like the national leader. And he wanted to understand more about it and why this guy hated black people. And so he set this up, and he talked to the guy, and they became friends. And the guy, but the KKK leader guy, he kept on being a KKK member, but he was just like, oh well, this one black guy is good, all the rest of them can burn in hell and all that. And
well, also,
but then
KKK...
later on, the KKK guy, he ended up leaving, and when he left, he gave Daryl Davis, this black guy, his uniform, his KKK leader uniform. Yeah.
Well, the KKK were also Democrats. Speaking of their sordid history.
Yeah, they were formed to oppose the NRA, which was teaching freshly freed black slaves about their gun rights, and the KKK was formed to oppose this. Of course, somewhere along the line, the KKK stopped being Democrat majority and started being Republican majority. Although the higher ups were always Democrats. That's why Hillary Clinton was kissing that former imperial dragon or whatever.
Well, you had like I believe like official like Clinton Gore or Clinton Gore campaign swag with the Confederate flag on it back in those elections.
I don't remember that, but
yeah, I mean you can look it up. It's out there, but
the
actually,
Confederate flag actually is such a huge cultural phenomenon. If you're familiar with rockabilly culture, there's actually a whole lot of rockabillys will wear a Confederate flag belt buckle. Even black rockabillys will do this, and it's not a racist thing. It's a rebellion thing. That flag is the rebel flag, and so people who wish to rebel use it. They tend to bear that flag.
Well, there was a few years ago. There was a prominent pro, because of course there's a whole movement to basically erase the Confederate flag. Several years ago, there was a prominent black pro Confederate flag activist who was actually murdered. He was, I believe he was run off the road after some rally. Some guys basically ran him off the road. He wrecked and died. But yeah, there's a whole there's a whole bunch of people that rock the Confederate flag that it's not a race symbol for them, but of course, the left, they want to get it banned from NASCAR, and if you wear the Confederate flag, you hate black people, and it's like, no.
It's heritage, not hate. But I was around when I was actually doing live streams on YouTube when that whole big movement back in 2015 was going on, trying to ban the Confederate flag. But I didn't hear about the black activist who was ran off the road. I didn't hear anything about that at all.
Well, I wonder why.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't, of course, if it was the other way around, this guy would have been nationally known and they would have had statues for him and so forth. But so
that reminds me, have you seen that picture? There's a black guy in a cowboy hat with a big Confederate flag, and then there's a white guy dressed like a neo-lib carrying a Black Lives Matter flag. It's just really funny to see that picture, and people were putting comments on it that were pretty ridiculous, because it's like when there's a glitch in the Matrix.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there was a meme I saw from the whole deal with the women's soccer team, kneeling. You had the you had the one, I forget her name, but the one prominent white player was kneeling, and you had her black teammate, standing with her hand over her heart for the national anthem, and they said, well, we just don't like this person. It's not about race, I mean, obviously we support the black teammate standing for the national anthem and oppose the lesbian white player who's just a jerk. Okay, yeah. So the guy I was talking about, his name was Anthony Hervey.
Anthony Hervey.
Yeah, so he apparently so it happened in 2015. It says he was on his way home to Oxford, Mississippi. They say when the car carrying him and fellow activist Arlene Barnum swerved off the road. But it's pretty well documented that he was targeted and basically driven off the road by a group of people that didn't like what he stood for.
Yeah, that's pretty fucked up. I just realized we have two different Zacharys in the chat, or had, because I don't think we have anyone watching right now. But
Yeah, I
it
see
took me a
that.
minute to realize that, because they're both named Zachary, both rhymes with Ain.
Yeah, they both have five letter last names.
Yeah, 5-letter last names.
Well, let
And
me ask you this while I'm thinking about it. So we were talking about Tulsi Gabbard. Now she's no longer in office. I believe she did not run for re-election to her House seat. Now she's still a Democrat. She lives in Hawaii, which, I mean, good luck getting elected as a Republican in Hawaii. I mean, what do you think the future holds for her politically? I mean, do you think? I mean, does she stay a Democrat? Does she become a Republican and
I
run for
don't know.
office?
I think she is making the move towards the right. Honestly, but she did hold some more right-wing viewpoints when she was younger. I think with all the I've seen a lot of her short vlog type things where she's discussing things that are basically just the left fucking up and the right being fucked over, and she's like, hey, look, this is wrong. So I do kind of see her moving towards the right in that regard.
Yeah, well, I do see here that it says in 1998 she began working for the Alliance for Traditional Marriage and Values, which sought to pass an amendment giving the Hawaii State Legislature the power to reserve marriage to opposite-sex couples. So I don't know. She might. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if she still maybe had more conservative views on certain things, and maybe just for political expediency, just said, "Hey, I think differently now." You know.
Yeah. So yeah, we have no viewers right now. And we had
Okay,
4 at one point. We had 4 at one point, and they all dropped out. That's real sad.
Yeah, we're driving people away here. I don't know.
They might come back. I don't know.
Well, so I know sometimes personally when I'm watching live streams, I dip in and out. So.
True. Yeah, that happens.
I haven't seen the Don yet.
Yeah, the Don showed up yesterday. It's funny. When I don't put tags on my videos, they get more views. So I think I'm just gonna stop tagging all my shit and see what happens.
I wonder what that is. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that video yesterday, by the way. I lost 2 subscribers for it, but I think it was totally worth it because it still hasn't rained. It's still hot as fucking humid.
Yeah, it's like it's raining over here. It's raining over here, but
yeah, it literally there was like a ring of clouds, and the halo of blue sky was right above my neighborhood. It's like, please rain here.
All it really takes is, I think if the videos are topical to what's going on, all it really takes is to get one video that somehow hits the YouTube algorithm and blows up, to get subscribers and views and stuff, so it's just the
algorithm seems to be against viral videos these days, but there are some that get through. There's actually a guy who started YouTubing last year, like literally 13 months ago, and he's got like 2 million subscribers now.
Was that? What's the channel, or what's the guy's name?
Mr. Balland.
Okay, I'm not familiar with him.
He does that horror, mystery, murder type content, but it's not like Chills where he does that weird voice. It's like this is just a dude giving you some exposition. You know, it's actually pretty cool.
Is it like a true crime, or is it fiction, or?
It's like a true crime. He just reads out weird shit from all over the internet, like paranormal, criminal, accidental death, like really gruesome shit. But it's really entertaining. Like he's got a Missing 411 series, which is people who just disappear and it doesn't make any sense why they disappear. And he's got another series on people who ended up in a place where they aren't supposed to be. And he's done like all sorts of paranormal ones too. Of course, the sad thing about the paranormal ones is that he seems to be misled a little bit because he's read out some creepypastas, some stories that I know for a fact were made specifically for entertainment, and he's read them out as if they were actually a real thing.
Surprised he hasn't been called out on that yet.
Yeah, but I mean, not everyone's as deep into the internet as I am. So,
because I know right now one of the I know my wife's really into him, like a lot of these like true crime podcasts and like cold cases and stuff like that. Like that's really big right now as far as like podcasts and videos and stuff. You know, I mean that's a real popular popular genre right now.
I just kind of stumbled across this channel that does murder and mystery content, but it's a woman, and while she's talking about the gruesome shit, she's putting on makeup, and it's like real artsy makeup. It's like one of those Pinterest, Instagram type makeup tutorials, but while she's doing this, she's putting on the bright glitter eyeshadow, and she's talking about, so this person got murdered in this horrible way.
Well, that's an interesting mashup.
Yeah, it is.
See, I picture us someday like we're gonna be here and we're gonna have like sticks, like thousands of viewers.
No, hopefully.
I mean, ultimately, that would be great, right? I mean,
yeah, I've been seeing your videos have actually been getting plenty of views. You've been getting better viewage than I have.
Yeah, I mean,
cool.
I don't know what it is. I know one thing that I've heard across.
You don't cuss as much. You don't cuss as much as I do. I say fuck too much, and also hell is in my name, so that's probably part of why I get demoted.
Well, when you go to upload your videos, you know how it asks like, is this like inappropriate or anything like that? Do you like age restrict your videos, or?
I usually click no, this is not made for kids.
Yeah, I always do that, but I think isn't there like another thing that it asks you, like does this have like inappropriate material or something? Because I'm wondering if
it doesn't ask me that. It just asks me if this is made for kids or not. And I always click no.
Yeah, I do as well. I don't know, exactly like how. I'm still.
Since you brought up sticks, I think it might be a good time to transition over to my criticisms of them, because I have two of them.
Let it rip, yeah.
So the first one, and those dogs are barking like crazy all of a sudden.
You're gonna have all the clankers coming after you.
Oh, I hope so. But the first one is that he during and after each debate, he brings up that the point of a debate is not to convince the person you're debating with of your point, but rather to convince those watching of your point. But that's something I consider to be harmful. I believe that sort of thinking has been causing trouble in our society. Those really are debate club rules, like pure academia, but they somehow spilled out into the real world and have been causing havoc. And there's plenty of instances where it's just a terrible idea to hold that kind of mindset. Like, if you're debating with a friend, that's just an asshole move. Or if you're debating with a colleague, if you're an academic and you're trying to figure out what the truth is and you're debating with a colleague, well, you don't have an audience. You only have you and your colleague, and you have a task, and that task is to find out the truth. So debate is not about embedding yourself in your position in that instance. It's about finding the truth, which requires you to change your opinion. And also, there's this other YouTube channel. I totally forgot the name of it, but this guy did I think it's called Counter Arguments. But this guy did a video series analyzing this 1957 movie known as 12 Angry Men. And it's about jury duty, basically. And it analyzes how one juror in that movie transforms all the other jurors' opinions.
I want to say I've seen that movie at some. I think we watched it. Gosh, I want to say like in a criminal justice class I was in, like in high school or junior highs, something like that. So I'm somewhat familiar with that.
One of the things that Counter Arguments brings up about this movie is that a great method of changing the opinion of the opposition is to make it clear that you yourself can have your mind changed. And I do believe that that's a good method. That's something good to do.
Well, I think it partly depends on, if the person you're debating used some kind of logic or reason to reach the conclusion that they're debating on.
Yeah.
If
they
you can
bring
logically,
up a good point, if they bring up a good point, you should change to accommodate that now factual point that they've brought up. But if they bring up a terrible point, argue against it. It's kind of self-impeding to argue against good points, and it's just a bad idea in general to ignore points which are brought up, which you should adjust your viewpoint to,
Yeah, I totally agree with that. That facts, if you're a reasonable person, then facts, results should actually matter. But I think when it comes to a lot of times in politics, a lot of people are very emotionally tied to certain viewpoints. So
yeah.
if you bring up counter arguments that sort of take apart certain views that they hold, it's hard to get somebody who's emotionally attached to something to think a different way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but if it's a person that isn't so emotionally attached to it, but is more logical and reasonable, people like that, I think, are more easy to get to see a different point of view.
Yeah, definitely. And the other thing that I wanted to bring up criticizing Styx for is his usage of string theory. I don't know if this really interests you or if you want me to explain it or anything, but as far as I'm concerned, string theory has been debunked.
And you're saying Styx is a proponent of this theory?
He's brought up string theory in a couple of videos recently. he uses it as an explanation of multiple worlds and basically an argument against destiny, which is fine. But string theory itself is actually debunked, really. The founders of string theory didn't believe that it could be debunked. They said that it can't actually be falsified. However, we have falsified it in an unlikely way. One of the things that string theory relies on is a particle known as the graviton, which is supposed to be a special particle, a special particle that carries gravitational force. But we've discovered that gravitational force is actually carried by fields. There's a device called LIGO. That's laser interferometer observation of gravity, something along those lines, or gravitational observation. Laser interferometry and gravitational observation. That's what it is. And what it is basically they shoot lasers at a mirror and measure the time it takes to get back, to have the laser get back to the starting point. And if there's any change in the time it takes for the laser to get back to the starting point, we know that a gravitational wave has passed through the interferometer. That's why it's called an interferometer, because it's interfered with, and it measures the amount of interference. And so since about 2008, we've actually had scientific proof of gravitational waves, which thoroughly debunks the existence of the graviton particle, which means that string theory is not a fact. It is, in fact, debunked.
So is this graviton particle supposed to be like at the atomic level, or like what is the?
Yeah, it's supposed to be a particle that exists at the atomic level, and clusters of them. Well, really, they exist inside of atoms at the subatomic level, and so clusters of them actually cause the effect we know of as gravity. That's the theory, anyway. But that's not how it works. And that's actually part of why you see the entire scientific community is now focused on field theory as opposed to string theory, because string theory is not field theory. There are field theories including strings, and it is possible that some form of string theory still is true, but bosonic string theory and what was the other one? Bosonic string theory posits that there are 26 dimensions, and there's another one that posits that there's 11 dimensions. I forget exactly which one posits the 11 dimensions, but there's also M theory, which plays into this. And but yeah, they both rely on the existence of a graviton, and
interesting.
We've debunked the graviton.
So is that related to like the whole like multiverse theory, or?
Yeah, because basically what the theory says is that there are these one-dimensional strings vibrating in 11-dimensional space, and because this 11-dimensional space does exist, there are universes in that space. It's really complicated and hard for me to explain, but that's basically what it is. Once you get down to a very, very, very small level, like 10 to the minus 33 centimeters, you actually can then observe these extra dimensions. And once you've observed these extra dimensions, you'll see that right next to us at all times there is another universe, and possibly multiple. So that is part of it, but there's also the Copenhagen interpretation of quantum physics, which doesn't deal with any dimensions or strings or string theories. It just posits that because of this wave particle collapse, there must be an instance where everything happens, where the particle is here, the particle is here, the particle is here when we look at it. And we just happen to be in the one universe where the particle is here as opposed to over here, you know?
Interesting. Yeah.
It's more classically philosophical than string theory.
So I wonder, does that what would lead Styx to be a proponent of this theory? I wonder.
Well, it is very compelling, and it took a very long time to debunk, and it is still being taught. But it has a great complexity to it, which could be attractive. And it is also readily available. You can watch videos on it on YouTube. There are entire lecture series concerned with string theory, taught by one of the founders, actually, Leonard Susskind. He actually has a whole series, actually maybe 2 or 3 series on YouTube, Stanford's YouTube channel, discussing string theory.
So did you see Styx's video about that today?
Yeah, I saw his video about that today.
See, I haven't actually watched it yet. I'll have to check it out because I see he has. Does fate exist? Is determinism real? Multiverse theory.
He brings up string theory there. Now that's not to say that what he's saying is not correct at all, but he's using string theory as a justification for it. There is another theory called quantum loop theory, which actually has testable hypotheses, and could in fact also contain the same dimensional argument.
Yeah, interesting. There's a lot of different ideas, I guess, when it comes to all that. Like you've probably heard of the Mandela Effect.
Oh yeah.
So
and I have a story there. I have a story there for you if you want to hear it. The Berenstain Bears, and how it's not Berenstain.
Berenstain.
It's Berenstain. Well, yeah. I remember the exact day we crossed over from the Berenstain universe.
Really?
It was June 24th, 2004.
2004.
I know this because I was at a doctor's office, and they had a copy of the Berenstain Bears on the table, and it was Berenstain. The next day, I went to another appointment at that same office. It wasn't my appointment that day, but same office. Picked up the book, and it said Berenstain. So it was June 24th, 2004 that we crossed over.
Wow. Yeah, I've heard that, and then I mean, of course, the name. People say, "Oh, well, I remember back in the '80s, Nelson Mandela died in prison."
Hang on, I got dog barking over here and family trying to get it. I remember being in high school and learning that Nelson Mandela had died, and then, or actually being in middle school learning that Nelson Mandela had died, and then being in high school watching Invictus, and there was Nelson Mandela as president. I was like, hang on, what the hell?
I've seen that movie, yeah, with Matt Damon and Morgan Freeman.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
pretty good movie actually. Yeah.
but see, that's what woke me up to the fact that Nelson Mandela had not died, because I could have sworn he had died. I was one of those people as well. I remember him dying. Also, it wasn't Luke, I am your father. It was no, Luke, I am your father. Because
Yeah, I'm trying to think. There's also the because actually I saw I don't know, about a month ago I saw a movie called The Mandela Effect, and it was, it kind of had some elements of that in it, where there was the Monopoly man. Some people said, oh, he has a monocle, but he doesn't have a
I
monocle.
remember him with a monocle. I remember he looked identical to the Pringles man.
Yeah, and then there was one where Curious George, he has a tail, but then no, he doesn't actually have a tail.
I remember him having a tail when I was a kid, but not a tail.
Yeah.
No tail there. And Fruit of the Loom with the cornucopia. I swear to God, it had a cornucopia.
So do you think there was some kind of like glitch in a matrix somewhere where these two?
I'm more of a proponent of the theory that particle accelerators are fucking with our universe and causing jumps between universes.
Interesting.
It's totally crazy, but it's not as crazy as all the other shit. I mean, it's just as crazy as all the other shit that we know is happening. So might as well.
Yeah, or there's, of course there's the simulation theory, and some people say, oh well, this just could be like cracks in or glitches in the simulation or something.
Yeah, and I've considered whether or not simulation theory is true. I'm not sure. There are NPCs. We do know that. There are really weird things that happen. We do know that. But, that doesn't necessarily prove that that the universe is a simulation. If it is a simulation, that would explain why we can't leave Earth, or haven't done so for a very long time.
Yeah, well, that's a whole other thing, as far as the whole flat Earth, debate.
I, for one, I actually believe more so in the aliens told us not to leave theory. There are really strange anomalous structures on the moon. Were you aware of that?
I've seen things, yeah.
There's a documentary that came out in 2014, and I watched it like 17 times right after it came out. It's called Aliens on the Moon, and apparently there's a book that goes along with it, but I don't have the book. But it was it just shows a whole bunch of anomalous structures on the moon, and it also shows video of smoke rising from the moon, which shouldn't be happening. And it shows those rocks that travel dozens, hundreds of miles even, up out of craters and are rolling across the surface.
Yeah, I'm taking a look at it. I see it. Aliens on the Moon: The Truth Exposed.
It should be on Pluto TV.
Okay, yeah, I do have that. I watch a lot of cops on that. Now, let me ask you, if gun to your head, did we actually land on the moon, or was that just faked?
I believe we landed on the moon, but the question is when. Because if you look at the first, it was like the first 3 moon missions. They look very, very different from the last several, and or the first 2 moon missions. They look very, very different from all the rest of the moon missions. So, and all the anomalous shit that leads people to believe that the moon landing was fake is only in those first 2. It's not in the others.
Yeah.
So we could have faked the first couple, but we definitely landed on the moon at some point.
Because I've even heard some people have the theory that whatever the first time, around that time we did actually go to the moon, but there was no way for them to transmit any sort of images back from there to Earth. So the footage was faked, even though we actually did go. They wanted to make a splash and make a big scene and have this footage created. So the footage was faked, but we actually did go. I don't know.
That's like 5 layers of conspiracy.
But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of.
I believe, I don't remember which Apollo mission it was. I think it was Apollo 15. They landed on the moon, and in some of the recording, in the background, you can actually see this light just across the sky, and they don't notice it. The astronauts don't notice it, but that light was actually confirmed to be a Russian space capsule that had not been properly mathematically aligned, so they ended up dying in orbit around the moon. The Russians did.
Wow.
Yeah, and they caught it on tape too. The American astronauts who did land. So it's like, and we have recordings from that Russian mission too. We have audio recordings, so we know that they were there, and we know that they died up there because they miscalculated and they didn't end up landing on the moon. They ended up just being in a death orbit around it.
Interesting. So I wonder, was there going to be some kind of like confrontation on the moon, between the Russians and the Americans,
Well, there may have been. Have you seen that image of the swastika on the moon? It looks like a big moon. I believe I have. Yeah. It looks like a moon base, and there's lights on it, but it's a swastika, and it's like at the north region of the moon. You can find it on Google Earth. Google whatever. But yeah, people believe that the Nazis may have actually landed on the moon and set up a lunar base there. There's all sorts of crazy conspiracy theories about the moon.
Well, I mean, to me, just to put it simply, the most at its most basic level, it would be, well, if we could go there in the 1960s, I mean, you would think we'd be going there all the time now, right?
Yeah, and they claim that we lost the technology.
Does that exist for anything else ever?
Yeah, we still have the Saturn V rocket sitting out in front of the NASA center, but we don't have the technology to do it again. I mean, we could take that thing apart and learn how we did it, but we can't do that. What sense does that make? But really, I do buy into the theory more that aliens told us not to go there, and that's also why we only do unmanned Mars missions, because we could totally do manned Mars missions, but
it would take a long time to get there, right?
Only a couple months.
Only a couple months? No?
Yeah, only a couple months. Only like 4 months total.
Yeah, because supposedly those rovers on Mars. Okay, yeah. So yeah, according to NASA, Um, they say it would take about 7 months to, I guess, get to Mars.
Yeah. See, I was thinking it was closer to like 5, but still, that's not bad. That's not bad at all. 7 months to get to Mars, and if you're one of those wealthy billionaires, you could load the shuttle with all the amenities, with everything that you need for the whole time, and have it be luxurious as well.
Well, maybe I mean I could think of a bunch of people that we could send to Mars. Yeah,
I'd go to Mars. Fuck yeah. Oh,
yeah,
you know that The Martian with Matt Damon?
I haven't seen that one, but I'm vaguely familiar with it. Yeah.
It's a pretty good movie, but there's a couple of big problems with it. Like, that part where the tent thingy like rips open and everything flash freezes?
Yeah, right.
That would never happen. That would never actually happen. And it definitely wouldn't kill off potatoes. Potatoes, of all things.
Well, it says here the temperature on Mars averages about minus 81 degrees Fahrenheit.
Well, it actually, there's a big variance. It actually gets up to summer and Arizona temperatures.
Hmm.
And it does get down pretty cold, too. But it, depending on the time of year, or I mean, depending on the time of day, really, you can have temperature swings of 100 degrees Fahrenheit. And depending on the time of day, there wouldn't be any flash freezing there. And
yeah, I would think it would have to be far colder to achieve that effect, right?
Yeah, you would have to be really cold. You'd have to be, and also those were potatoes. Potatoes grow in fucking everything. Potatoes grow in like frozen rocky soil. Like, they're the one thing that you don't have to worry about like freezing over. But he, like, in the movie, he throws out these potatoes that just got frozen, and it's like, hang on, what the hell did the Irish eat then? Don't their winters get colder than that?
Yeah, I guess Ireland isn't necessarily an agricultural powerhouse, but they can grow potatoes.
Yeah. They grow potatoes under like frozen soil. I mean, you ever read about the potato famine?
Oh, I'm somewhat familiar with it. Yeah.
Of course, the potato famine was planned out by Britain, but they were growing potatoes under frozen soil. Like, they literally dug up snow and frozen dirt and buried potatoes down there and grew them. You don't have a problem growing potatoes in extreme cold.
Well, I guess they took some artistic liberties in dramatizing the environment. Yeah.
You ever seen Interstellar?
I have seen that one with Matthew McConaughey, right?
Yeah, and is her name Elizabeth something? I forget her name. And that one ginger girl, too. Yeah. Can never remember these people's names, but I always remember their faces.
So there was Anne Hathaway.
Anne Hathaway, that's the one, yeah.
Jessica Chastain.
Yeah, Anne Hathaway I was confusing for Elizabeth something. I don't know why Elizabeth came to mind. But that movie was actually pretty good too, except for the the whole new age hippie thing about love is what guides you through the universe. I don't think that's actually how that works.
Yeah, I mean it's it's still made by a bunch of Hollywood weirdos,
Yeah.
Actually, I just recently recently watched. It came out a few months ago, but it was called The Tomorrow War. Have you seen that one?
I think I saw an advertisement for it, but I didn't actually see that itself.
It's with what's his name? Chris Pratt. And basically it's on Amazon. But basically some people from the future come to the now, from people from like 2050 come back to now, and they say, well, the population of the world's down to 500,000 people. We've been invaded by some alien race. So basically, we need to bring people from the past into the future to fight off these aliens. And Chris Pratt is some type of like researcher or something, and he's a young fit guy, so of course he's one of the guys that they bring into the future, and then he ends up finding things, and then he gets sent back, and then they found some like toxin that could kill the aliens, and then they found out that the aliens were really on Earth for like thousands of years, but they were like frozen somewhere in Russia.
Alien sickles.
Yeah, and that basically the premise is that, well, by 2050, all this ice is melted, and then these aliens come alive and they kill everybody. Yeah.
See, I just want to see a movie about the Anunnaki. Like, I just want to see the gods that created us be made into a movie.
Oh man, what was that? Man, there was a movie that dealt with that, that had something to do with that.
Prometheus?
Several years ago. No, it wasn't Prometheus. God, what was the name of it? I saw it when it first came out, and it was basically kind of like a mockumentary. It was presented as like a serious, fact-based documentary, but of course it was it was a movie. Gosh, what the heck was the name of it?
I honestly wouldn't know. Nothing springs to mind right now.
Okay, all right. It was called The Fourth Kind.
Oh, The Fourth Kind. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So you've seen that one?
I haven't seen it, but I saw. I know it had Mila Jovovich in it.
Yes.
And it looked pretty good, but I never actually got around to seeing it. I thought it was about like psychic encounters with aliens.
Yeah, well, let's see. It's been a while since I've seen it, but it says it's a pseudo documentary purporting to be a dramatic reenactment of true events that occurred in Nome, Alaska, in which a psychologist uses hypnosis to uncover memories of alien abduction from her patients and finds evidence suggesting that she may have been abducted as well.
Wow.
But yeah, they have like some dealings with that, and like kind of like Ancient Aliens, or a whole other language and stuff like that. It's one of the few movies I think that's ever kind of touched on that. Like basically, they're saying like going back to like the Sumerians, and they had contact with aliens. And
I'm gonna have to watch it. Like that's getting bumped up to the top of my list now. Have you
yeah,
seen the
I mean, just
original Stargate movie?
I have not, no.
It's another Ancient Aliens one. Of course, it's not Sumeria; it's Egypt.
Oh, okay.
And the alien that abducted all the humans from Egypt is named Ra.
That's the sun god, right?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
all the animal headed people. Well, those are actually masks, like robotic masks, helmet type things.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So do you think? I mean, do you believe in the the whole premise of like ancient aliens and stuff like that, that humans have had
I like to
contact?
think I like to think that it's true. I don't know for sure, but it's an interesting thought.
Because I think
I know uh,
I think Joe Rogan's mentioned like there's like old paintings that supposedly have like shit flying around in them, like
yeah,
spacecraft
yeah,
or
yeah,
something.
yeah. There's some really weird stuff, but yeah, Graham Hancock, who actually made appearances on the Ancient Aliens TV show, he does not believe in ancient aliens. He just believes that an ancient human civilization was very, very advanced.
Yeah,
So it
I've
is
seen I've
possible.
seen some of his. I'm somewhat familiar with him, at least through the Joe Rogan show, where yeah, he thinks that there was like 50 million people that lived in like South America, like in the rainforest, and there was whole like cities that existed once upon a time.
Yeah. Um, have you seen? Have you heard of Bright Insight?
Can't say that I have. No.
It's a YouTube channel. YouTube channel called Bright Insight. This guy's ex-military, and he proposed the idea that Atlantis is in the Sahara, in this structure known as the Richat structure, or the Eye of the Sahara. And he puts forth
Interesting.
an incredibly compelling argument. And the only arguments I've seen against it are that Plato did not mean it literally, which we don't know for sure because Plato made sure to tell us when he was saying an allegory. And Plato didn't
Interesting.
even invent the story of Atlantis. He got it from Solon. But like, if you go watch Bright Insight's videos on Atlantis, you will end up going down a rabbit hole because he's got like 7 of them, and he does a good job. Like this
Yeah,
structure
I'll have to check that out. Yeah.
is exact in dimension and construction to what Plato described. And there are people there to this day building in the same way that Plato described people building 12,000 years ago.
I mean, has anyone ever gone there and like searched for it, or tried to?
Well, the guy who runs the channel actually went there, but no dig was taking place there. Although he did bring up that there was a dig less than a mile away, which uncovered what looked like cannonballs.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I'll have to check that out. Yeah, I'm kind of intrigued by that.
yeah, it's real cool. Oh, and you can use flood maps and set the conditions to exactly what they were 12,000 years ago, and the Richat structure fills up 2 rings of water and the center island. It's perfect. It is exactly what Plato described. It's an island
Interesting.
ring city thing.
And this was in the middle of Africa?
Yeah, this is well, it is technically the Atlantic because when the Younger Dryas event happened and the ice caps melted and the ocean levels were much higher, the Atlantic Ocean covered much of the mainland of West Africa. And Plato described that after the waters receded, the land became muddy and inaccessible by boat, which also describes West Africa right after a great flood of that sort. And there are big marks. You have to see them from a satellite image, but you can see them. The sand just goes off one way, as if it was washed out.
Yeah, that's another theory I've heard is something about a great mud flood.
Yeah, the mud flood. There's that's more recent though. That supposedly took place in like the 1700s or the 1800s, and that also coincides with the lost civilization of Tartaria, which may or may not have existed, but probably did exist. Probably wasn't worldwide, but the proponents of the mud flood claim that Tartaria had reached worldwide acclaim and were wiped out by the mud flood.
Yeah.
John Levi actually has a channel. If you look that up, that's one word, Jonlevi. John Levi. Yeah, DVK, the Eye of Africa, the Eye of the Sahara. Yeah. And it looks very much like the Eye of Ra. But yeah, John Levi, he's got a couple of really dumb videos, like really dumb takes. Like he does the flat Earth thing. Like one of the things that he pointed at was like, look at this image that was supposedly taken from the North Pole. The northern star, Polaris, is in one spot, and all these other stars seem to be rotating around it. Almost as if we are on a flat Earth and those stars are moving. And it's like, that's retarded. Shut up. But
well,
he does actually do good work in exposing these this technology that existed just a couple hundred years ago that we apparently have lost.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to people like that, I've always said that just because somebody could be wrong about one thing doesn't mean something else they say doesn't make perfect sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, he brings up a lot of good points about this this advanced culture that we seem to have taken over from. There were a lot of buildings. There were, cities with thousands of very, very high quality buildings, very large buildings, just for, a few hundred residents.
mm.
And they're supposedly built by coal miners, but that's not what coal miners built. We know that's not what coal miners built because coal miners didn't build shit that was that fantastical.
Well, they would have had to have had advanced knowledge of, architecture and symmetry and all sorts of stuff. Like I've heard theories that there's different pyramid structures all over the world that supposedly could theoretically produce electricity.
Yeah, there's a couple of theories pertaining to the Great Pyramid. of Giza. There's one that says it was a water pump using some sort of vibrational frequency to pump water. There's others that say they were, radio towers. Graham Hancock actually in his book points out that we can't know for sure if they were built by the Egyptians themselves, because the Egyptians kept record of most things, if not on papyrus, which doesn't disintegrate in that desert because it's too dry, then on stone. And the Egyptians would actually record things on stone inside of the structures that they built out of stone. And inside of the Great Pyramids of Giza, there is no Egyptian carving. None.
So I guess the theory being that it's some otherworldly or some other group of people from elsewhere.
Well, his theory is that it was an older culture that the Egyptians just kind of took over from, kind of like the mud flood theory, but older. And there's another channel that I watch. I believe it's called Civilization X. Think that's the one. They have videos exploring artifacts from around the world that are clearly machined. They aren't, carved by hand. They're actually very obviously cut by machines. And some of these are in Egypt, and there's like a granite box, a granite sarcophagus, except we aren't sure if it is a sarcophagus, and it is perfect. Like, you can take a square, which is a right angle, and put it in the corners, and it is perfect on every corner. But then you look outside, and there's like really crappy lines carved into it with hieroglyphs, and it looks like graffiti, basically. Except this is supposed to be a legitimate Egyptian artifact. And, in reality, it just looks like the Egyptians found a box and then carved their doodles onto it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So it's theoretically possible that other civilization, even ancient civilizations, have had great technology that maybe was just lost.
Yeah.
Over time.
But you know about Stonehenge, right?
Yeah.
And Stonehenge are these several ton blocks that were stood upright. And if that's not impressive on its own, all of the blocks came from about 100 miles away. And we know this because the kind of stone that those blocks are made out of doesn't exist within a mile of the area. It does exist about 100 miles away, though. And so we know that the builders of Stonehenge had to have carved these blocks and dragged them about 100 miles to their current location. But see, why would anyone do that? Oh, and Baalbek. Baalbek's another one. Baalbek with those stones that are so massive that you would literally need 21 heavy lift cranes in the modern day to lift one of them. And they've got like 20 of them. And they're fully separated from the bedrock. They're not like attached to the bedrock. They're fully separated. So someone had to have lifted them up at some point.
Yeah, and you wonder, well, why would some, when people in a lot of cases struggle just to survive, why would somebody go through all the effort to do that? It obviously had to have had a great meaning.
Yeah. And that reminds me of Göbekli Tepe. Göbekli Tepe is another one. We are told the official narrative is that hunter-gatherers built Göbekli Tepe as a place of worship and trade. But that doesn't make sense, and that is inherently contradictory. It took like, wait, what took like 100 years?
Is he talking about Stonehenge?
Yeah, I'm not sure what he's referring to there. I've brought up like 15 different cultures. But yeah, we're told that Göbekli Tepe was built by hunter-gatherers, but hunter-gatherers do not. They exhibit very particular behaviors. They do not build permanent structures. They do not have, astronomical mappings. They do not have religious gatherings like that, and they don't have trade. This was supposedly before the time of trade. Who would these hunter-gatherers have been trading with? The race of elongated skulls and race of giants were here before us. The builders? Yeah, see, that's another thing. The giants. There are giants on record. We know of one species that has integrated into humanity, known as the Denisovans, Homo denisovans, which has been confirmed genetically to be an ancestor of Homo sapiens, which also integrated into Homo sapiens sapiens in much the same way that Homo neanderthalis did.
Now, is that related to the Nephilims?
Possibly, supposedly. There are people who say it was. The Denisovans, they come from northern Russia in the pretty much close to the Siberian region. They were very tall. They were like between 8 and 10 feet tall. And they had dark skin, dark reddish skin. And we are told that in extra-canonical sources, not actually standard biblical sources, we are told that the Nephilim were red-skinned.
Interesting. So I wonder. Wonder from like an ancestral point of view, like how far back we could even trace that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we do know that the Denisovans had some of the oldest structures on Earth. They had jewelry and walls that they built about 300,000 years ago, which supposedly is before Homo sapiens arrived. And that's just for comparison, the French cave paintings, which were classically considered the oldest evidences of culture on Earth, were 41,000 years old. So we're talking about several factors of 10 here.
Yeah, it's really fascinating stuff. Like that's why I can never be bored, because if I can't sleep or I have time on my hands, I mean there's a million different rabbit holes you can go down with all this stuff, and it's it's fascinating.
And that's why I have a whole bunch of books on the topics. I mean, I have Graham Hancock's first book. I have the 3 books by von Daniken. I have the first book from Sitchin. I have.
What was he was talking about? God, I can't think of the name of him, but he had a theory about about Africans like traveling to like Central America. It was the Olmecs, I think is what they're called.
The Olmecs.
Are you familiar with them at all?
Is anyone?
Well,
they're like the oldest
because
and most
there's
mysterious South American people.
yeah,
But
because
I have heard that the Olmecs may have come from Africa. That's why their structures look very Africanized.
yeah, and they have these like big like giant stone faces, or whatever you want to call it, and they have very African like features. They have very big lips, very big nose, eyes that look like much much of the phenotype of people that would be African.
It's not South American. It's African.
Yeah.
I mean, Pumapunku. Pumapunku has carvings of all the races on Earth. And this was supposedly thousands of years before anyone contacted South America.
Yeah, how's that possible?
Oh, they also have a carving of a gray alien. Yeah, that's very fascinating stuff right there.
Yeah, I don't doubt it. I mean, interesting. Got a train going by there?
Yep, got a train going by. No, it's like a mile away, but it sounds like it's right next to us.
Yeah, super loud. Yeah,
very loud, and I guess it just echoes through the neighborhood.
Yeah.
There was this. It wasn't a documentary; it was a presentation. But I've been looking for it, and I've been struggling to find it again. But it was a presentation on Freemasonry and the alleged ancient historical roots of Freemasonry, and not the mythological roots, because Freemasonry. There's the mythos that Solomon's Temple and this other guy got killed there or some shit. I forget the exact story, but the Akasha tree plays into it. But that's the mythology. But there was a presentation that posited that the Freemasons actually are a continued lineage of Masons from very ancient times, and they presented evidence in the structures of Freemasonry and in very ancient architecture. And one of the things that I remember is the three windows that are like the big one in the center and the two smaller ones on the side, and it's symmetrical. But I can't remember who the presenter was, or where to find this talking. Have you seen Brian Forrester's YouTube channel? No, I have not.
I have to check that one out.
I have heard the name before. It may have been recommended to me. I may have seen it. If I have, it's been a while. So yeah. So can you would you be able to join the Discord after this?
Yeah, I don't have. I mean, I haven't before, but I mean, I'm somewhat familiar with it, so I mean, I can, yeah.
Yeah, Discord is pretty cool. I actually really like it a lot. But I'll send you the link after we get off here.
Sure.
I posted a whole bunch of basically my whole library is in there, and I'm just curious if anyone wants to see any reviews in particular, or any lectures of any sort, or if anyone would want to help out, help further my research and whatnot.
Yeah, no, I'll definitely check it out and see what's up.
Yeah. So, any final words you wanted to say? Any topics? Anything?
Wow. Well, I mean, I think this particular discussion, is I mean, we can, this has given us, a number of different topics we can possibly talk about in the future too. I mean, if we want to go down one, talk about one of these things, in more specificity or just in general, because I mean, they're all, they all have enough going for them that I mean, you could spend hours talking about each one of them and just scratch the surface, So
yeah, and
I think people are interested in that kind of content too,
Oh, I'm definitely interested in it. All these historical mysteries. Who were the Proto-Indo-Europeans? Who the fuck built the pyramids? Have aliens visited us? Are we under alien control right now?
Right? Is somebody controlling us in a simulation? Yeah.
Brian has evidence: red-haired, elongated skull people with red hair relocated from Iran to Peru. Oh, fascinating! I'll have to check that out.
I have heard about these elongated skulls and eye sockets, skeletons being found in Peru. So that's definitely interesting.
Robert Sepper is another one. He investigates all sorts of shit, but he's mainly an Aryan invasion theorist and Die Glocke theorist.
Oh yeah, and one more thing while I have it on my mind, going back to the Olmecs, is the giant heads that were constructed that were found in it was either Mexico or some other part in Central America, are almost identical to ones found in Ethiopia. So it gives some credence to the fact that there may have been some Africans traveling to Central America at some point that had a civilization there.
Yeah. There's also a theory that there are multiple species of human, and I kind of buy into this because there's quite a bit of genetic evidence to support it. For example, we haven't detected any Neanderthal DNA in Africans at all. We just expect to find it when we get to a sufficiently advanced genetic testing capability. And there's people with Denisovan DNA, and there's most humans do not have Denisovan DNA. It's only people who have ancestry in northern Russia.
Interesting.
But yeah, Robert Sepper is another good one. John Levi. Can't think of any other names right now. There's a lot of interesting shit out there. But yeah, you should check out that Aliens on the Moon documentary and get back to me on that. That's a really good one.
Yeah, I'll have to check it out. And I did see that movie, The Fourth Kind, it happens to be on Netflix. So if anybody out there, wants to see it,
Netflix, so
yeah, check it out.
And speaking of Netflix, I've been watching Star Trek Voyager lately.
Nice.
And it's I don't know why people talk shit about it, but it's actually really good. Like, it's really good. I like Voyager a lot. And I'm not even on season 3 when Jerry Ryan gets in yet.
Oh, Jerry Ryan, yeah.
Hey, she makes anything worth watching.
I mean, well, what the hell? But Jerry Ryan actually, it was has a tie to I believe Barack Obama, in that when he ran for the U.S. Senate in Illinois in 2004, his Republican opponent at the time was a guy called Jack Ryan, who at one time was married to Jerry Ryan. They got a divorce, and he got knocked out. He was leading Obama in the polls, and what do you know? Their divorce records somehow were unsealed, and it had some unsavory things about this Jack Ryan guy, and he left the race. And shortly before the election, and Barack Obama, just basically floated into office, and rest is history.
Yeah, Jerry Ryan is 50 something right now, and she still looks good.
Yeah, it says 53. Yeah, I mean
53. She was, I believe she was 27 when she started on Voyager.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, and those in the skin tight suit there.
The cat suit. Yeah. Whew, the 90s were a much better time.
Most definitely, yeah.
So, I think should cut it about here.
Yeah. Looks like you're plumb out of sunlight there.
Yeah, totally out of sun. I mean, the sky's still light, but that's just because there's clouds up. But it's not enough light to actually illuminate everything.
Yeah.
Like, I'm illuminated in my own view, but I have really good night vision. My camera does not have really good night vision.
Got it.
I'm just illuminated by StreamYard itself. So to everyone who has watched, thank you. Joe's channel is in the description. Joe, I'm going to send you that Discord invite link as soon as we get off of here.
Okay.
We have plenty of content to talk about in the future, which is pretty cool. You and I seem to have very similar interests in regards to conspiracy theories and historical speculations and whatnot. Yeah, I look forward to that. And thank everybody for watching.
Later.
Peace.